Hello and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Kaylee, and on this channel I cover all things true crime, travel, lifestyle, and just generalized vlogs. But today you have stumbled across the true crime section of the channel. Now I just want to give a warning, true crime videos and true crime cases are not suitable for everybody. And if you think that the contents of today's video may offend or upset you, please jump to another video. I'm sure there'll be something here on the channel that you will enjoy. Additionally, a trigger warning for this video, it does contain domestic violence. So if that is something that you're not comfortable with, again, please jump to another video. For all my regular true crime video watchers here on the channel, I have done a lot of Australian true crime, and I would love to know in the comments below, are you happy with that, or do you want to see some cases from other countries, or mix it up, or are we just happy with Australian true crime? I would love to know your thoughts on that. And if you have yet to hit that subscribe button, please consider doing so. It really does help the channel grow. I'm now going to jump straight into today's case, which is the case of Jody Meyers. Jody was born on the 17th of May 1995. Now, she was one of 5 children, and along with their mum Lucy, the family lived in South Australia. Growing up, Jody was described as a loving, fun, carefree young woman who had a great amount of friends. She loved life, she was loved by everybody, and she was just a really caring young person. Jody was exceptionally close with her younger sister Tanya, and then when Tanya found a partner and got married, Michael, she was also very close with him. They had a great connection and a great bond. And it was very rare for Jody to not be seen with Tanya. They would hang out all of the time. When Jody was just a teenager, she met a man by the name of Neil Archer. Now, Neil, who was 9 years older than Jody, was one of 4 boys, and he was raised solely by his mother, Margaret, in Mannum, South Australia. Growing up, Neil had a very dysfunctional upbringing and was brought up with an iron fist on behalf of Margaret. Although Margaret was very strict on her children, she most certainly had a clear favourite in Neil. Margaret herself was described by friends and family as a very smart but cunning woman, and who was very, very domineering to her family. When Jody was just 17, she did start dating Neil, and eventually the couple decided to move in together. Now, they did move into a small little house, which was conveniently just down the road from Neil's family home. In 2013, Jody and Neil become engaged, and it's also this year that they have a beautiful baby boy called Elijah. Now, Jody was known to be a fantastic mum. She would do absolutely anything for Elijah. She loved and cared for him, and just, you know, he was absolutely the apple to her eye. It was like she was born to be a mother. She was so loving and caring for Elijah. But whilst Jody had found her calling in life, being the mother to her baby boy, not everything in life was falling into place for her. She would often be fighting with Neil, and often the fights would be about Neil's mother, Margaret, who had made it known she did not like or approve of Jody at all. On many occasions, if Jody and Neil were fighting, Margaret would arrive at the house and lock Jody outside, refusing to let her in or to see her own child. She would often put Jody down and belittle the way that she was with Elijah, criticizing everything that she would do for her baby boy. Throughout their relationship, many of Jody's family members took note of how controlling Neil had become of Jody. Jody was unable to have her own social media. Neil had to know where she was at all times. Neil would often go through her phone and read her text messages and would stop her from contacting her family. In 2015, though, Jody had had enough, and it was at this point in time that she started to tell people that she was going to leave Neil. Neil learns about these conversations that Jody's having with other family members, that she wants to leave and that she wants to move out of this house and be away from Neil. And it's at this point in time that he goes to Michael, Tanya's husband, and says to him directly, "If she leaves me, I will kill her." Now, I don't know if Michael didn't take this seriously, or if, you know, it just, nothing was come of this, but this is something that Neil said directly to Michael. On the 26th of August 2015, Jody and her family attended a family barbecue at her stepfather's, Brendan Ward's house for his birthday. Neil did not want Jody to attend the party, but when she was adamant about going, Neil said that he would drive her, but he was not going to get out of the car, which he didn't. He stayed in that car for the entire night. About 8:30 p.m, Jody was ready to leave, and so she went and got into the car with Neil. Neil claims that on the way home, the pair got into a massive fight because of the way he had acted at the party, but once they got home, Jody contacted an unknown friend who came and picked her up in a red four-wheel drive only moments after they had gotten home. This was the last time Jody was seen alive. On the 28th of August, just 2 days later, Jody's mother, Lucy, does receive a text message from Jody's phone. Lucy found the text odd though, especially because when she sent Jody a reply, she didn't get a reply back from Jody. Lucy also knew that Jody would never leave her son Elijah alone for a small period of time, let alone 2 days, which had now passed. 2 days later, when Jody still had not returned any texts to Lucy again, Lucy showed the text message that she did receive to Tanya, who instantly said that message was not written by Jody. There were spelling mistakes, and the format of the message was nothing like what Jody would usually send. That day, Lucy reported Jody missing to the police. Police start the investigation into Jody's whereabouts instantly. During the investigation, Neil and Margaret were doing constant interviews with the media, and in these interviews, Neil asked Jody to return home and if anyone knew where she was, to come forward with information. Margaret would also tell journalists that she was deeply saddened that Jody had disappeared and wanted her to let someone know where she was. In one interview, Margaret looked to be crying and overcome with grief.
When we got home, she turned around and said she wasn't impressed with it. She never actually thought I'd sit in the car, and she said she was leaving. Well, if she is listening, I just want her to know that we all do love her and miss her dearly, and we would really like her to come home. I wouldn't be the man I was today if I hadn't met her.
But you didn't write that message? Or?
No. I can guarantee 100% I did not write that message. So she's made me grow up quite a fair bit, especially like she's the first woman that I've actually had a long relationship with.
What to say?
I would like Jody to at least contact somebody, because this is getting really bad. We miss her, we want her to come home, or at least contact someone, someone that's out there, knows anything, to contact the police or Crime Stoppers. Her son needs her. He needs his mum. Sorry.
But the police had started to gather CCTV footage from around the small rural town. The first section of footage the police received was from an ATM, which was used to withdraw $250 from Jody's account the day after she had gone missing, and footage from the local Tats Lotto store where a phone credit voucher was purchased, which was used to recharge the credit on Jody's phone again the day after she had last been seen. When the footage was reviewed by police, it was quickly discovered that it wasn't Jody captured in the vision at all, but the vision was of Neil and his mother Margaret withdrawing the money, purchasing the phone credit, and even sending the text from Jody's phone to her mother Lucy. But with Jody's body still missing, the police decided to keep this information and this footage under wraps so they could continue to build their case. It was 3 weeks later when Lawrence, Margaret's husband, told police that Neil had concreted his shed floor for him for Father's Day. Lawrence had been away in Tasmania the weekend that Jody went missing and found this very odd, as Neil wasn't the sort of person who would do a hard day's work as a gift. The police then find additional CCTV footage of Neil and Margaret at Bunnings buying 600 kilograms of concrete. Finally, the pressure was starting to build on Neil, and he confessed to his brother Aaron that he had strangled Jody and put her body under the concrete in the shed because she was going to leave him and take Elijah with her. Aaron told Neil he needed to hand himself in, but Neil didn't. It was later that afternoon that Aaron goes and reports Neil to the police. He tells the police everything that Neil had confided in him, including how he had killed Jody and where he had buried her body and covered it in concrete. Neil was arrested, and then on the 25th of September 2015, the police sadly do find Jody's body under the concrete in the garden shed. During questioning by the police after Neil had been arrested, he does confess to what he had done. He told police that he and Jody had fought over her wanting to leave him, and to stop her from leaving, he tied the cord from his hoodie jumper around her throat and strangled her to death. He then told his mother what had happened, and she proceeded to try and help him cover it up. Neil also admitted to police that it was actually the $250 that they had taken from Jody's account that they had used to purchase the concrete that they covered her in. They used her own money to try and bury her. Neil Archer was convicted of murder and sentenced to life with a non-parole period of 22 years. His mother Margaret was sentenced to 6 years with a non-parole period of 3 years. She was due to be released late last year. Neil will be eligible for parole when he is 49 years of age. Elijah now lives with his grandmother Lucy, who is undoubtedly giving him the best life she physically can. The family was also able to plant a tree in memoriam of Jody on a riverbank in the local town. This case is absolutely horrendous. I mean, poor Elijah has grown up without his mother. Lucy has grown up without her daughter, and Tanya lost her sister. I mean, obviously there were other siblings as well that I didn't mention by name, and they have also lost a family member. Their community lost a loving, caring young woman, and it's absolutely horrendous that somebody who tried to cover up her murder helped bury her under concrete and ultimately was responsible for the sending of text messages to claim that she was alive and giving her family false hope, was out of jail in 6 years' time. That's absolutely disgusting and is such a shame on the entire justice system. For someone to help cover up a murder and then just walk free 6 years later is disgusting. And I really hope that it just eats at Margaret's soul that she did this to another family. Even if she had issues with Jody, there's no way anyone deserves to be put in a hole in the ground and cover it with concrete. It's absolutely disgusting, and just I feel nothing but shame towards that woman. I don't even have anger towards it, just absolute shame and disgust. As for Neil being in prison, I personally I don't think he'll be remorseful to be able to go and tell people, you know, on TV, to a journalist, to a reporter, you know, I want her to come home. She's out there somewhere, come home, look after your child. To be able to say that, knowing what you've done and knowing what you've done with Jody's remains, there's no remorse there. There's no panic about the fact. It's just, you're just trying to save your own skin. And I just, people that do that, if you try and cover up a murder, you are just as bad as the person who did the killing, in my opinion. A murder victim, or anybody who has been tragically killed, their family have the right to know what happened to them. So if you have attempted to cover up something like a murder or a crime that has made somebody disappear or anything like that, it just breaks my heart and it makes me so angry. I feel for the families that have, you know, family members and friends that are missing and they don't know where they are and there's no remains. Another example of that is the Janine Vaughan case that I covered a little while ago now. It just absolutely breaks my heart that her family don't know where she is. I mean, I personally believe Janine has been killed, and her body is out there somewhere and it just needs to be found. But her poor family don't have that knowledge. They are left every day to question, is she alive? Is she dead? Where could she possibly be? So for somebody like Margaret to try and help cover up the fact that Jody was killed and to take that knowledge or attempt to take that knowledge away from Jody's family is just, it's not right, and it should most certainly have had more than 6 years. If you have made it all the way to the end of this case, thank you very much for taking the time to listen and watch this video. If you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, please consider doing so. I do bring out a new true crime related video every single week. Have a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.